Hello everyone, so welcome to the stream today. Very much excited for having you once again on our live sessions to share with you and answer any questions that you are having, as well as lecture on various subjects, on various topics, in order to assist you to prepare well for your ICA examination, your ACCA examination, and any other form of exams that you have that has something to do with accountancy and finance in what we are sharing in this series. Now, yesterday, we started with the issue about the assessment of organizational performance, and we went deeper to talk about the issue in relation to the fact that there are three key modules that are used in assessing organizational performance. We spoke about the fact that there is a balanced scorecard by Kaplan and Norton. There is the Fitzgerald and Moon building block that can also be used, and also we can also look at the issue about a triple bottom line in relation to that. So today we want to take it to the next level. Yesterday we spent our time to look at the balanced scorecard. Today what we want to look at in a few minutes is to look at the Fitzgerald and Moon's building block and how we can use that in assessing an organization's performance. So as you know how we do it all the time, share the video. Let's reach as much students as possible watching the stream today. And also remember to comment below. Most importantly, I want you to comment below with any questions that you have on various subjects, on various topics, on what you want me to share on, what you want me to discuss on, any questions you have. Maybe you are studying something and you have an issue, or you don't understand something very well and you want me to answer that question also. I'm going to be reading all your questions live on the stream, so you make sure that you comment below with any questions that you have on the stream today as I read your questions and answer any questions you have in relation to that. So comment below with any questions as we get into the discussion today. Now remember, yesterday I made mention of the fact that the Fitzgerald and Moon's building block is an evolution of the balanced scorecard, which is deployed to meet the need of service organizations, because we made mention of the fact that the balanced scorecard is typically for manufacturing companies, but for the service organizations it's quite difficult to use the balanced scorecard, even though they can use the balanced scorecard to some extent. So the module, or an alternative module, which is an evolution, like I said, is just like the balanced scorecard, but we are looking at it from another level, is the Fitzgerald and Moon's building block module that is used in order to evaluate an organization's performance. And also it's a tool that helps management to set a forward-looking performance management framework that links an organization's strategy and the objectives to employee targets and motivation. Very, very important. It is a tool that helps management set a forward-looking performance management framework that links an organization's strategy and objectives to employee targets and motivation in relation to that. So we want to look at how we can measure the performance of an organization from that integrated perspective. From that integrated perspective, in using the balanced scorecard in that case, the Fitzgerald and Moon rather, not the balanced scorecard. Now, so when it comes to the balanced scorecard, I'm just lost in balanced scorecard. When it comes to the Fitzgerald and Moon building block module, what are we looking at? So let me put a structure down, and we're going to be using that structure to explain it. So the building block module looks at three areas of performance. We have the dimensions, and this is going to be in a box like this. Okay, and let's have this like that. Let's divide this box into two like this. All right. Then we're going to have standards here. Then we're going to have rewards here. And rewards. So if you have any questions, you put them in the comment box. I'll be going through all your questions for you. Now, under the dimension, there are 6 key things we need to look at. Financial performance. These should be in smaller letters so that. Then we will also have competitiveness. Then we will have quality. We will have innovation. We will have flexibility. And then the last one is resource allocation. So I'm going to be using this diagram to explain into detail these. Then under the standards, we're going to have 3 things. Ownership. We're going to have achievability. Remember yesterday I gave you an idea of these. And then every standard we set must be fair, so equity. Then under rewards, we're going to talk about clarity. We're going to talk about controllability. And we're going to talk about motivation. So these are the things that you have to understand when it comes to the issue in relation to the building block module by Fitzgerald and Moon. The building block module by Fitzgerald and Moon. So there are 3 key areas of performance that we are looking at. We are looking at the issue in relation to dimensions. We are looking at issues in relation to standards. We are looking at issues in relation to what? Rewards. So let's get into them one after the other. Let's start with dimensions in relation to that. Now, companies usually compete across a range of dimensions beside their financial performance. So the building block module actually considers and describes 2 categories of dimensions that we have to be aware of. So there are 2 categories of dimensions that we got to be aware of. The first one is called results, which is based on the past. And then the second one is called the determinants, which is based on the future. So there are 2 broad categories of what? Dimensions that we have to look out for. Results and then dimensions. So the question we ask ourselves is, what are results? Or what do we mean when we say results? What do we mean when we say what? Dimensions. So we said that results are the outcome of decisions and actions taken by management in the past. So if you want to assess the performance of an organization based on the decisions that they have made in the past, what kind of indicators can we use? That is what we mean by results. So under the dimension, you realize that we have 6 key indicators here under the dimension. Now, the results are the issue in relation to the financial and then what? The competitiveness. Okay? Financial performance and then the competitiveness in relation to that. These are results oriented. So for the decisions that management has taken in the past, the strategies that management have employed in the past, the various policies that management has put in place in the past, how much did we earn in terms of what? The financial performance. This is like a financial perspective from the balance scorecard. So what is our profitability? Okay, what is the gearing level? What is the liquidity level? What that is the financial performance. Then for whatever decision management made in the past, what is our competitive level? What's the market share we were able to cover? How much growth have we had in terms of the market share, in terms of the growth as an organization in relation to that? So that is the first thing you have to understand when it comes to dimensions, and that is what we mean by what? Financial performance, and then what? Competitiveness, and these are results. These are results. Then we come to the second thing in relation to that, and that is going to be the determinants. Now, determinants refer to the forward-looking dimensions of the module. Forward-looking dimensions of the module. So whilst results are looking at what we've done in the past and how the performance has been, the determinants are looking at what? The forward-looking of the modules. Now, determinants try to answer questions such as, what areas of future performance are most important for a company to achieve positive financial and competitive results? What areas of future performance are most important for a company to achieve positive financial and competitive results? Now, so in addressing that question or answering that question in terms of what areas that are critical or most important for a company to achieve positive financial results, we have to look at what? The quality of the product. So the first two is based on the results in the past, what we've done, and this is based on the determinants, how our future performance will be guaranteed. So that is based on the quality of our products. Remember, in the balance scorecard, we mentioned the customer satisfaction. One of the issues was about what? Quality. So what is the quality of our service? What procedures have we put in place for quality of our service? When customers lodge complaint, how long does it take for us to respond to them, for us to reply to them, for us to deal with the issue that they have at hand there? That is very, very critical. What is the quality of our service? What is the quality of the product that we are selling? Then certainly, like we spoke about learning and innovation. An organization lives in a most changing environment. So one of the things that will enable you to stay on top is to what? Be innovative. So how innovative will you be to be able to render your service, to be able to do what it is you have to do in order to satisfy your customers? So what are we doing? Innovation. Are we acquiring new techs? Are we using new state-of-the-art equipment, new state-of-the-art devices in order to increase the way we render the service to the company, we render the service to the organization, to our customers in relation to that? We must look at that, we must address that, we must answer that in relation to that as an organization in that case. Then the issue about flexibility. The company cannot be fixated. If we set a goal, if we have a policy in place, things are going to be changing. Remember, I said a moment ago, we are living in a dynamic environment. So since as an organization, we are living in a dynamic environment, it means we cannot be what? Fixated. So we should be able to be adapted, or we should be able to adapt to the ever-changing things that are happening in the environment. Like coronavirus has come, various institutions now are finding different ways and means to still what? Render the service they have to render to their clients. Universities are now sending end of semester examination and project works or tests to students who have 24 hours or 48 hours to submit. It is called flexibility, because things will happen, things will change, and that will cost you, and you have to change your policy as an organization in relation to that. So if you have any questions, any comments, you put it down in that case. Then the last thing has to do with resource allocations. What is management doing in order to allocate the resources of the organization? So resources here, we are talking about what? Funding. We are talking about the human resource. We are talking about the capital. We are talking about materials. Now remember, resources are limited. Okay, resources are limited. What it means then is that the resources we need in order to produce the product we have to produce, or to render the service that we need to render, may be limited. So if the product produced or the service we are rendering, the materials we need is limited, how do we allocate those resources in that we will be able to maximize our profit? So limiting factor analysis, throughput analysis, like resource allocation, very critical there. So that is the first thing you must understand, the dimension. That the dimension talks about what? The broad area that the organization can assess its performance, and we can talk about the results, which is what is based in the past, and the determinants, what is based in the future. That's the first level about that, and that is what you must understand in relation to that. Now, once we understand our dimension, once we understand our financial performance, once we understand the competitiveness, the market share we have, our control in the market, our contribution in the market, once we understand the areas that we need to innovate in order to get positive financial cash flows in the future, how we are going to be flexible, how we are going to be allocating our resources, we then come to the next level called standards. So now the company need to what? Set various standards, or put in place various standards in relation to that. Now, what are standards in this place? The standards will be the benchmarks or targets directly linked to the performance metrics under the heading for each of the dimensions. So we have to set a standard for our financial performance. So the company can say we are increasing profitability by 20%. That is a standard we have set. It's a target we've set. It's a benchmark that we've set. We want to increase our market share by 10%. That is a standard we've set. That is a benchmark we've set. Innovation, we want to make sure that every year, whatever new tech that is introduced in our industry that will enable us to be more efficient, more effective as a company, we'll make sure that we use it. We'll be the part of the first people, or we will be in a beta program for software companies, so that whatever new function or feature that they are introducing, will be the first people to have it. That is the standard we've set. Flexibility we've set. So once we understand the various dimensions, what do? We set the standards, we set the benchmark, we set the targets, which are linked to each of these things, so that we can assess our performance later on in relation to that. So that is the thing you must understand about standards. Once we know our dimension, the next thing we do is to set our standards in relation to that. How is our video quality like? Can you see my video clearer? So the video is not as clear as it's supposed to be, even though it is showing that it's clear here. Right, so can you check if my video quality is clearer now? If my video quality is clearer now. So once we set the standards, what do? We need to, once we know our dimension, we set the standards. Now, Fitzgerald and Moon said that in order for us to set standards that will be able to be used, that will be able to be there to assess the performance of the organization, we have to look at three things. So there are three aspects of standards that we need to look out for. The first one is who is responsible for achieving the standards. That is ownership. Who is responsible for achieving the standards? That is ownership. So if we set a financial performance that we are increasing profitability by 20%, who is responsible for that? If we say we are increasing our market share by 10%, who is responsible for that? If we say our quality control, maybe the standard is that we should have maybe 1,002 whatever points of quality, and we've set our standard that we want to get 908 quality points. Who is responsible for that? So certainly when it comes to profitability, production managers will be responsible for the cost. Administrative will be responsible for reducing cost in relation to that. Competitiveness, our sales department will make sure that we sell more products, we market more products. Quality control experts, production managers will make sure that we are producing what? The best quality product at the price or the cost that will be acceptable to individuals in relation to that. So we need to look at that. So ownership, who is responsible for the standard that we are setting? For each of the standards we are setting under each of these headings in the dimension, somebody must be responsible, a department must be responsible, because it is only when someone is responsible that you can hold that person accountable. You can be able to then measure your performance as an organization in relation to that. Second, after we ask who is responsible for the standard, the second question is, what level of the standards, what level are the standards set at? What level are the standards set at? This is about what? Achievability. Now, we've got to be careful when we are setting standards so that we are not over enthused to set standards that are too high, that will discourage our employees, or standards that are too low, that will not bring out their innovation and their creativity in that case. So we must, what level is the standard set at? We must make sure that is why we will set the standard against maybe international benchmark. So international ISO certification for the quality of the product should be 1,002. So we can benchmark around 908 or maybe 950. So what level is it set at? Is it a level set that is achievable based on the resources we have as a company, based on the products we are producing, based on the funding allocation that is there? So that is the second question we ask about the issue in relation to what? Standard. What level are we setting the standard at in relation to that? This is very, very important. This is very, very critical in relation to that. Then we come to the next thing, and that is, can we use the standards for a fair appraisal across the company? That is the equity. Can we use the standards for a fair appraisal across the company? That is equity. So the standards that we've set for ourselves, the standard that we set under the various headings, under the dimensions, can we use that to assess the performance or appraise the performance across the entire organization? This is very, very important. This is very, very critical in relation to that. Now, in addressing that question about equity, it's very important, because if, for instance, you say that profitability should be increased by 20% and you are increasing your market share by only 5%, and quality control, so you must make sure that you are setting the standards for the various headings so that it will be fair, so that the sales and the sales department will not feel pressured that their standard is too high, and the production department will not feel that their standard is too high at the expense of the sales department. The finance department will not see that their standard is too high. So we must make sure that we are setting a fair standard based on the level of work required by each of the departments or each of the segments of the organization in relation to that. So that is what you have to understand when we talk about the issue in relation to standards. So what are we saying? The first level is this. The first level is this. Fitzgerald and Moon said that when it comes to assessing the performance of the organization, there are three broad things we need to look at: dimensions, standards, and rewards. When it comes to dimensions, there are two key issues we need to look out for. The issue about what? Results and dimensions. The results are the outcome of what management, the various decisions that management have made in the past, whilst determinants are the areas within the organization that we have to improve upon, that is important for us to achieve future positive financial performance and what? Competitiveness. And then we said, once we know the dimensions, the 6 dimensions that we've discussed, we will be able to now what? Set standards. And we say the standards are the targets, the benchmarks that are set, which are linked to each of the headings under the dimensions. And we said when a company is setting a standard, there are a couple of things that it must take into consideration, or there are key 3 aspects of standards that we must consider. Number 1, who is responsible for the standard? And that is what? Ownership. For each of the standards we set under each of the headings on the dimension, somebody must be responsible for it. A department must be responsible for it, so that we can hold people accountable and be able to answer their questions in relation to that. Then, what level is the standard set at? That is achievability. That is very, very important. What level is the standard set at? That is achievability. Very, very important. So we have to ask ourselves what level at which the standard is set at. That is the achievability. The higher the level, it's going to be discouraging the employees. When the standard is also too low, it may not encourage employees to be innovative. So we must set the standard at a level that will be generally accepted based on the international standards, based on the internal controls procedures, based on the resources available, based on the funding needs of the organization, and all of that in relation to that. So that is what we have to consider when we talk about the issue in relation to
get super rich, to become a millionaire, because I think it's important. I want to help you and help as many people as possible become financially.
in that case. So once we set our standard, now any questions you have, you can put it in the comment box, and I'll be answering all of your questions for you in relation to that. So let's move on to the third thing. We know our dimensions. We set the standards for each of the dimensions. Standard said someone should be responsible for it. Standard said must be at a certain level that will be achievable, and standard set must be equal or fair so that we can use it to assess the performance across the entire scope of the organization. Then we come to the third slide, and that is rewards. Rewards. So when we talk about rewards, what does it mean? Now, so rewards is the last aspect of the building block module, and this looks at how the organization
To get super rich, to become a millionaire, because I think it's important. I want to help you and help as many.
Okay, so let's go back to rewards. So rewards, like I mentioned, it's looking at the overall structure of the reward system of the organization, and it's linked to the HR system of the organization. What does that mean? Rewards try to answer the question, do compensation packages in the company lead people to achieve the standard of performance which are set out above? So whatever standard that we set, because if you tell me that I should increase profitability by 20%, if you tell me as a sales personnel that I should increase my sales by 10%, if you tell me as a quality control expert that we should increase our quality by 905%, if you tell me as a project manager to allocate finances like this, what do I get in return? What is my reward? What do I get at the end of the day? That is the issue about what? The reward. So for every standard that we set, there has to be a reward system. That is what the employees will receive, what the department will receive when they actually achieve what? The standards that has been set. Now, there are 3 aspects of rewards. For every reward system, for every reward structure that an organization is putting in place, there are 3 aspects that we need to look at for every reward system of an organization. 3 aspects of it that we need to look out for. The first one is this. Is the system understandable to all employees? And that is clarity. Is the system understandable to all employees? That is clarity. Now, whatever reward system that you are putting in place, it should be communicated well to the employees. So for instance, if you say, oh, I should increase sales by 10%, and when I increase sales by 10%, the company will see what they can do for me, whether they will give me promotion or whatever it is. Is that clear for me? That's not clear, because I don't know really what I'm going to get. I don't even know why I need to increase the sales by 10%. I will increase sales by 10%, make profits, MD and the board will receive huge amounts of salaries, and what do I get? Nothing. So it has to be communicated clearly. All right, Nhyira, when you increase your sales by Nhyira, when you increase sales by 10%, you are going to be receiving maybe $5,000, or you are going to be promoted. What does that mean? There is clarity. So I understand the reward system, and I understand how it works and how we can use it as an organization in relation to that. And that will determine whether I will go ahead to get the bonus of 5,000 or get the promotion in relation to that. So that is the first aspect for every reward system. The second aspect of reward system is, will the system drive employees to achieve their objectives? Will the system drive employees to achieve their objectives? And that is what we mean by what? Motivation. So whatever reward system you put in place, will it drive employees to really achieve their objectives? This is where, for instance, in setting of the reward system, we have to look at what? The Abraham Maslow hierarchy of need. Because if I'm somebody that I don't have problem with a house, I don't have problem with really money, I don't want money, and you say, oh, Nhyira, increase your sales and I'll give you $5,000, I don't have problem with money. Or if you're able to increase sales by 10%, you will move to the bungalow of the company, or the corporate whatever bungalow of the company, and become part of that. I don't need that. I already have my own house. I live in my own house. So that will not challenge me. Maybe I'm looking for a promotion. I want to become a branch manager. So if you tied that to my standard, or the standard that you've set for me, that would rather what? Motivate me to be able to do the thing that I need to do in order for me to achieve the goals that you have set for me in relation to that. So that is the issue about what? Motivation. That is the standard that is set by the company, or the system that is put in place. Will it drive employees to motivate them to achieve their objectives? Then the last thing, do employees have control over their areas of responsibility? Do employees have control over their areas of responsibility? That is the issue about what? Controllability. Now, tell me this. Will you prefer that you are told what to do in every situation, or you are allowed to use your own judgment, your own wisdom to achieve the goals? So for instance, the company said, all right, increase sales by 10%. Would you prefer that the company tells you how you should increase the sales, or they should leave it to you? You are the expert, you understand sales, and you would make the decision that you have to make in order to increase the sales. That is controllability. Now, what happens is that the more control employees have over their work, the more encouraged the more motivated they are to be able to achieve what? The standards. But if they are being directed, they are being given everything that they are supposed to do every step of the way, it is likely that they may not be what? Motivated. So controllability. That is the thing you have to understand, and these are the things you need to look at when we are talking about the Fitzgerald and Moon building block module. So what are we saying here? We are saying that there are three things you need to understand. Dimensions. Once you understand the dimensions, the past results of the outcome, that is financial performance, competitiveness, determinants, what are likely to be happening in the future, and the areas that we need to excel in as an organization, then we need to set standards for each of these dimensions. For whatever standards we set, somebody should be responsible for it. That is ownership. Whatever standard we set must be at a certain level. That is achievability. Whatever standard we set for each of these dimensions must be able to be used by the company to appraise the performance of the organization across the entire organization. Then we said that for the company to be able to achieve its standards, there has to be what? Some reward systems. So the reward system must first be well understood by each of the employees of the organization, and that is clarity. And whatever reward system put in place should be able to motivate employees to achieve the standards that is set, and that is the motivation. And that is why I said we can use what? The Abraham Maslow's hierarchy of need. Some people will need money, some people will need promotion, some people will need holiday, some people will need, there are different levels of needs. So we have to look at the need of the various individuals who are giving the various standards, and not just design one reward structure for all the employees. It will motivate them. So like I said, you are given a house. I already have my house. I don't need it for anything. Somebody will say, okay, I will take the house, then I'll rent my own. I don't need to be in a corporate house that I'll have to move my things, and when I leave the company I have to move my things back, blah blah blah. No, I want promotion. No, I want to be a branch manager. No, I want to be the head of a department. So find out and do it in relation to that. These are what you must understand when we talk about the Fitzgerald and Moon. It is a tool that is used to assess organizational performance for usually the service organizations in relation to that. So if you have any questions, you put them in the comment box, or yes, you put them in the comments below the video, and I'll be answering all of your questions for you in relation to that. So you comment below with all of your questions. We're looking at organizational performance, and that is the building block module. So you could see that with this one, what is happening is that, now one thing you must understand of the bet is this, that for the dimensions, they are all of them are key performance indicators that companies are using. So if we are looking at financial performance, we are setting key performance indicators on the financial performance. If you are looking at competitiveness, it's a key performance indicator, the market share that we have in the market. So maybe, let me sip some water. So the market share that we have in the market, is it a bigger market share or a small market share? We need to look at it. We need to consider that one in relation to that. Then the quality of our product, certainly. Like I said, if the international ISO certification said 1002, whatever, we can bench our own at 908 or bench our own at what? 1000. There are actually some companies whose product quality exceeds what is generally accepted as a quality thing in relation to that. That could be an added feature that we will have as a company when we are dealing with the issue in relation to that as a key performance indicator. But once we set these key performance indicators, what happens? We need to set the standards in relation to that. So you comment below with any questions you have for me as we are looking at the issue in relation to the building block module by Fitzgerald and Moon. Like I mentioned, this is a tool that is mostly used by the service organizations or for service industries. And
to get super rich, to become a millionaire, because I think it's important. I want to help you and help as many people as possible.
And one of the things is that it's an evolution of the balance scorecard in relation to that, right? So it's an evolution of the balance scorecard in relation to that. Now, so are there any limitations to the Fitzgerald and Moon building block module? What do you think? Are there any limitations, what would you say are the whether are there any limitations? Do you think so? You can comment below with any questions you have, or if you think there are any limitations of this balance scorecard. You know, with the Fitzgerald and Moon building block, rather, you know, the issue about the balance scorecard, we mentioned the issues about resources. You can see that this one actually, it's a bit integrated in the sense that you set a standard, the standard has to be achievable, it has to be a smart standard you set, it has to be fair for the various organizations so that nobody will feel cheated, nobody will feel that they are being underutilized or undermined as a company in relation to that. So like I mentioned, this is a module that is key for those of you writing management accounting ACCA F2, ACCA F5, and then management accounting in ICA level 2. That is under performance evaluation. One of the issues is to use the Fitzgerald and Moon building block module in order to assess the performance of an organization in relation to that. So whatever questions you have, you can put them in the comment box and I'll be answering all your questions for you in relation to that. All right, so let's see what we got here. So let me see if we have some questions here. Okay. So that is what I'll be sharing with you today, and it's the building block module. I believe that you understand the concept, you understand the principles about it in relation to that. So I'll be concluding here today, and if you have any questions, you know what to do. You can send them to us on WhatsApp line 050-114-9296, 050-114-9296. And then also make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel. Today on YouTube, I was live there and I spoke about equity. Did I say equity? I spoke about ethics of for an accountant. We did a part 1 yesterday, so we looked at the part 2 today, and I answered a couple of questions as well for students on various subjects, on various topics as well in relation to that. So God willing, tomorrow I'm going to be catching you same time, 4:30 p.m. on YouTube, and then 6 p.m. here on Facebook. Make sure you take time to share the video with others. Subscribe to my YouTube channel if you have not subscribed, and also make sure you give thumbs up on the videos and other things, because when you subscribe, when you engage with the contents that we create as you watch them, that is how the Facebook, that is how YouTube is able to push the video to be able to reach as much people as possible, and that is how the algorithm works in our favor, so we can reach more people with this message, with these materials, with these things. As you are getting value, there are many people out there that will also get the value for it in relation to that. So that's what you got to understand, and I will see you, God willing, tomorrow. Make sure you take care of yourself. Remember, coronavirus, it's still here, it's still there, so you make sure that you are taking care of yourself.